Welcome to another episode of Top Lines and Tales, the nation's favourite livestock podcast. And as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Harborough, for their continued support with Top Lines and Tales. And of course, Harborough are manufacturers and suppliers of high-quality livestock nutrition and nutritional advice. This week's guest on Top Lines and Tales, I have Neil Wattie from Mains of Tonley in Old Meldrum, Aberdeenshire there. Welcome, Neil, to Top Lines and Tales.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Neil, I know the farm has been in the family for a considerable time, but before we go on to what you're probably better known as, your Aberdeen-Angus herd, let's just have a chat about, if I can call it your day job. You are General Manager, Managing Director of Sellers Agriculture, is that right? Tell us a little bit more about that.
All right. So I'm a Managing Director for Sellers. We are a company based in Aberdeenshire, at Old Meldrum, which is about 20 miles sort of northwest of Aberdeen. Well, we are a machinery dealership and have the Class franchise as our main product. We have quite a huge range of other kit we sell as well. We sell out of 7 locations throughout Scotland, from the Central Belt right north, right to the Black Isle, north of Inverness. And we also own another fencing business near Offord. So in total, we have about 90 staff, delivering all that in sales, parts and service throughout the company.
Okay, big company, I knew it was. And Claas, of course, for those out there, think Claas just make combines. Of course, nowadays it's tractors as well, isn't there? And that's becoming a big corner of the market for the Claas tractors now.
It is. So that, the Claas have a broad range of stuff. Tractors is quite a big thing now. They also sell telehandlers, round balers, a lot of other grass kit. So it's, that would make up about 60% of our business in total, that we sell with new and second-hand kit.
Sure. And how's the market at the moment? How are you finding things? Are people still ordering new combines?
Oh well, we have sold a few for this coming season. It's just a wee bit slower this year. The grain prices dropped, so it's taken the edge off it's just knocked the confidence a bit for the buyers. We've had a few good years these past 4 or 5 years, but we're slightly behind at this point as in previous years. But it's not that bad. But it's just the arable boys are a wee bit slower. But the cattle and sheep job at the moment is doing very well. So
sure.
We're still having a lot of deals with livestock farmers.
It goes that way around. And just tell us a little bit where Sellers started. Is that something that you started with your own family, or did you buy into?
No. Actually, Sellers was started almost 200 years ago. Okay. In Huntly, which is about 20 miles from where I'm located today, and they were more just a blacksmith shop, basically, or an engineer, a small engineering business, and they developed, but they grew quite big, and some people might have heard of Seller plows, and they were actually exported all over the world, and that's a way back, 50, 60 years ago. They were really big, but things changed, and they eventually become a retail company. Right. With a small engineering business. So I came to work here in 2000 as an accountant, but then in 2004 I bought into business, and I've been running it ever since.
Okay, and then a successful business, as you said there, and farming wise, been there a little bit longer, I believe. Tonley, Mains of Tonley has been in the family now did your father get started there?
Yes. He started farming in the late 50s, but then he moved to Mains of Tonley in 1966. So we've been there since.
And I'm right in thinking that Tonley has association with Tilly Thorpe.
It's a wee bit away, but William McCombie, who is the very well-known name within the Angus breed, his father actually started farming at Mains of Tonley.
Okay.
So that's the sort of slight connection.
That's the connection there. And of course, you've gone on now into the Angus yourself. And as those out there don't know, I'm writing the history of Aberdeen-Angus at the moment, and along with another couple of guys. So that should be out this summer. And obviously, Tilly Thorpe takes a front seat in that one. But likewise, yourself a front seat. You have gone on to be, I would say, at the top of your game there, top of the breed, really. And let's just sort of have a little bit look back and just to how that started and how you got going there. So your father, I think, bought into Angus maybe in the 90s. Would that be right?
It was in the early 90s, and it was it was either, I think it was in 1992, he said to me, I think we should buy some Angus, because just at the late 80s into 90s, the breed began to get a bit of a resurgence, and there was more talk about the breed. And I'll be honest, I was a wee bit, not sceptical, but I thought, I hadn't really, because I hadn't really considered it. But anyway, he went to Mary Smallwood, which was a Warren herd, and that was the very first cattle he bought when she dispersed. And he bought 3 females that day. And that was the start of the Angus herd. I think it was 93 that happened.
Okay,
so
I knew he'd bought down in England. I didn't realise they were from Mary. I remember Mary very well. Of course, a lot of people were always at the shows with the 3 Jack Russells there, and always had some good stock.
So it was quite exciting when they came home, and they were in calf. It was a cow and 2 heifers he bought, and there was a Vine and a Belle and a Josephine. It was, and that was the start. And we don't have so many Josephines, but we still have quite a lot of the Vine. It was the Vine line on the Bell line. We still have quite a lot of that in the herd, which all goes back to Smallwood.
Okay, we'll go into some of your families a bit more detail in a second. But going back to that time, as you said, Angus were a little bit out of fashion, weren't they? But the likes of Neil Massey and Willie Robertson and 1 or 2, and Willie McLaren for that matter as well, were starting to push the breed forward. But a lot of Canadian influence, I suppose, was doing that bigger, rangier, taller cattle.
Yeah, they were.
Is that what you were getting into?
Yeah, well, they had obviously they were the real stalwarts for a long time and had been still keeping going with them. But just at that time, there was more people beginning to, there was actually 1 or 2 people in the northeast started buying Angus at that time, like the Howies at Cairnton bought some, and Hamish Slater at Devon. We all kind of started in the 90s. It was just the time for the interest had grown.
Sure. And a demand, I guess, for black still up that way for all. Aberdeen-Angus would be considered Charolais country for the last.
Well, it is. It is, Andy, and I mean, like the Fainston market, which is the big local market here, and I mean, there's a lot of livestock farmers with suckler cows, and they use Charolais bulls, and they get great trade at the Fainston market on a Friday. When they sell their wean calves, it's a difficult market to break up here with the Charolais, especially the Charolais as a terminal sire.
Sure, and I know you've had a dabble in Charolais, and again we'll go on to that in a second. But am I right in thinking a little bit of Scotch Cap was influenced? I read somewhere into some of your breed, and then he was a bull that had a huge influence, a very important bull in the breed in US. He was, because after we bought the Warren cows, we then bought some. We actually bought a few cows from it was Strathburn. That was the name of the herd. They had quite a lot of Scotch Cap cows, right? And that was a big help. They dispersed in about 95, and we bought a few cows from them, and they had a few of the Scotch Cap cows, and they bred very well for us. I remember young John Elliott saying Scotch Cap would be one of the most influential bulls in the breed during that time. And he wasn't just the biggest either. He wasn't the big leggy bulls that some of those Canadian bulls were.
No, he wasn't. But the cows, we found the cows bred very well, and that helped us because because a few of that, because we bought a few cows at dispersals, after the first purchase, and a lot. We noticed a lot of the best cows at some of these dispersals. The cows that did the best calves were often a Scotch Cap cow, if that makes sense.
Okay, and there's his influence. And we'll go fast forward now another close on 30 years. And how many cows is in the Tonley herd there now? How many black cows?
There's about 120, 110, 120, just in that, so just over 100.
Okay.
So
and as well as being busy, of course, in that herd, but you run the herd now with your son Mark, is that right? Is he at home doing all the work?
Yeah, he's at home. He's Mark's 28 now, and he's a full-time farmer because my dad's he's still on the go, but he can't really work anymore. So Mark runs a farm, and I have my day job, and I do odd bits of pieces at weekends. Occasionally, give him a hand and things like that. But he's the main driver now in the farm.
And you're turning out, obviously, all pedigree. You'll be turning out bulls. Would you be killing a few as well? Do you have a trade for Aberdeen-Angus beef?
Oh yeah. Well, all the bulls that don't make it as a bull. You know, we don't castrate. We just keep the bulls entire, and the bulls all go away about 14 months. You know, so they work quite well, and so it works fine. And you know, just keep the best ones for the breeding job.
Okay. And as I said, you are right at the top of the breed. But let's go back and have a look at some of those families. I noticed you've got some Blealac Avoras. In fact, you've got quite a bit of Blealac blood in amongst the original cows back there. And the Blealac Avora, of course, I think was a record price cow. Am I right in thinking 32,000? There's quite a few Avoras about. Did you buy the 32,000 one? Was that you?
No, we didn't buy her. No. We have bought a few Blealac cows over the years, and they've always done. You know, they've done very well because we did buy in the 90s. Neil Massey then had a bit of a draft sale at in October time, and we bought a few cows that day, and there was one of them. She's an Elma actually, which is not I can't remember what she actually goes back to, but they've done very well for us, you know. So
certainly Elma is a name that I think people will associate with your particular herd. Elma's done well for yourself, and also in there would be, as I mentioned, the Evora cows, but there was an Erie as well. I think is another Erie. Well, and a Blackbird too. So you know. And
Blackbird, the Erie, we've quite a few Eries in the herd, and they've had a big influence as well, you know. So
and of course, again, Wheatland Erie would be a herd from Ron Loftus there that went back to Blealac breeding, and again done very well in amongst the breed.
Yeah, exactly. So it's we always found the Blealac cows could breed quite well. You know, you didn't always need the fanciest cow, but they seemed to produce pretty good calves. You know, you know, from any sire.
Many sire. That's the secret, isn't it? If you've got a cow or breed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a couple of Jubilee Ericas in there again, and that's a name that goes back a long way, of course, the Ericas. But the Jubilee Ericas is a specific family within that, isn't it? And I think you've got a couple in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's been kind of maybe one of the best success stories with the Jubilee Ericas. I think it was about 2013 or 2014, Blealac had a draft sale on their farm, and we went to it, and there was a Jubilee Erica cow there, and she wasn't the best cow, she was just a middle-of-the-range cow, but I thought that day she had the best bull calf, maybe the best calf. You know, I think it was maybe 50 cows for sale that day, and I just really thought the calf was fantastic. Anyway, we paid 5,000 for that cow. On her own. The calf was sold separately, and then she went on and then bred a few bulls, quite good bulls. Every time she had a pretty good bull, and was sold. Every bull was sold between 6,000 and 7,000. But then she was kind of coming to the end of her life, and Mark said, like, would AI her to a Duncan's the Mere bull, and we AI'd her to her, and I bred Tonley Jester Eric. Now Tonley Jester Eric then went on to breed a Perth February champion for 24,000 guineas and a heifer for 20,000. So that line has done particularly well. Okay. It's probably the most successful line we have.
And wasn't there a second one? Didn't you buy a second one of those as well, Jubilee Ericas as well?
Yeah, we did. We bought one actually from Alan Lawson in Hollington, because he had bought some of that line, and we couldn't get our good cow to breed a female, so we bought a cow from Alan Lawson, which went back to our cow. And we've now got a few, I think we've 4 females on the line now, in the herd now. So
excellent.
It's good to have it, like, you know. So.
And again, writing as I am at the moment, the history of the breed. Of course, those that don't know, I mean, the Ericas go back to the original Ericas at Ballandalloch, which is not far up the road from you. Maybe.
Okay, all right.
Erica family goes back there, and of course, back through a lot of the Bob Adams at Newhouse. Erica was a huge family in amongst there. So,
all right. Okay.
And I also know a Prairie Line Rosebud, and I think that's to do with John Elliott, isn't it? Isn't that a cow he brought in?
Oh yeah, he did. So a way back, you know, when son Mark started coming to the bull sales when he was about 10, and always was very enthusiastic. And once Mark was about 13, 14, John had kindly gifted Mark 2 embryos, just to encourage his enthusiasm, if that makes sense. So, and lo and behold, both embryos held. So he got a bull and a heifer. So, but the bull, I think we actually had to kill him. He didn't turn out so good, but the heifer turned out very good, and she's gone on. We have we've had a lot of success with this Rosebud line, and we sold a bull for 14,000 off her, and We've sold females with quite big prices as well, so it's turned out a very good line. That was all down to John's generosity.
Very fortuitous of you, and of course, and Prairie Line Rosebud been very successful, of course, for John there at Rob.
Oh, absolutely. Very much so. Very much so. So.
And Princess will be another good family you've got there. Seems to keep producing, and that goes back, I think, to a Netherton Princess. So to that.
It does. Yeah, way back in the 90s, we bought this cow, this Netherton Princess, and she was a big cow, and she had a heifer calf, which was served by Windover Justifier, right? And it's her daughter. It went on to be the super breeder, and it's our Princess line goes right back. Oh, because this calf, when she came home as a calf, well, she's gone on. The mother didn't breed anything really that much exciting again, but the calf went on to breed a lot of good heifers, and the best Princess is all traced back to that heifer now, that calf we bought that day.
Yeah, still coming through, and
yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it is. The secret is in these families, isn't it? Following these things back, a lot of all breeders I know, but Angus breeders in particular, take a huge attention to families, and people very often buy animals to go back into those families again. So do you find that? You find people that may be breeding from a Princess family would buy a Princess kind of bull to put back in there?
Yeah, I would, because folk have noticed our Princess line for example, is very strong. So it just keeps. It's a bit like what I said about some of the blether cows. You can have an order cow and can breed a good calf with any sire. Some of these Princess cows we have seem to breed well on any bull. With any bull. So if you can get that into your cows, you're onto a winner.
Absolutely. Makes life a bit easier if it doesn't put quite so much pressure on you bidding for a bull, that's for sure. But you'll have
exactly.
Kept a few of your own bulls back through the years as well, get a bit of your own breeding back into the herd?
Yeah, we have. Years ago we actually kept a bull called Tonley Powerline, and he was sired, but he was off the Princess line as well that we've just mentioned, and he was the sire of him was Mushroom Friar Fergus. Okay. So we kept a lot of females off him, and they did very well, and it was one of the good things. Plus we kept the Tonley Jester Eric bull as well, and he's done exceptionally well. Yeah,
so, and you mentioned Friar Fergus, and I think a lot of people that are enthusiasts in the breed, they're specialists in the breed, will know that Friar Fergus wouldn't have been maybe the biggest, but I think would that be the same with your own cattle there at Tonley? Certainly, I'm there at Stirling and seeing your bulls, and you wouldn't have the big, rangy, harder flesh bulls that a lot of people have. Just keeping up the size down a little bit and a bit easier flesh. Would that be a fair reflection of
well, that's I'd be right, because it's. As was said, when we start, like my dad bought the cows from Mary Smallwood, but they weren't the biggest. But at that time as well, there was some of these big rangy bulls coming in, and we weren't quite keen on them. And we did. Well, my dad, he was kind of drove the herd for a start, and he was very keen on Samurai. Okay. And that was we used Samurai a lot in the 90s. He AI'd quite a bit, and we bred some really nice cows with that, and and then we also used a bit of Mushroom Friar Fergus as well, and they had a lot of flesh on them, and they were medium-sized cow. They weren't that small either, no. But they helped establish our herd. Samurai helped establish our herd.
Certainly, Samurai. I know William McLaren has mentioned, and a lot of other people as well, that Samurai really did breed some great females. That was his trade, wasn't it?
Oh, such great heads and great character in them.
Yeah. And let's just look a little bit at the performance side of it. You've been obviously involved in recording and the performance figures, and hey, there's different schools of thought about how the performance figures enhance your breed, obviously. But is that something you pay huge attention to, Neil?
Well, we certainly pay attention to it, but we still have to look at the animal itself. We use it as a guide, but we're not. It's funny because you get a whole range of views on figures. You get some people who are absolutely hooked on them and make every decision based on the figures. Some are kind of a bit in between, and then some don't hardly look at the figures. But I would say we're a wee bit in the middle. We do take account of them, but we need to take account of the animal itself.
Okay.
And because you always need an animal. It's kind of correct. It's got a good top, got a lot of flesh on a good head, and that's part of the being a pedigree breeder, and you kind of just ignore all that as well, and and be driven by figures 100%. But they're still a guide to help you in your choices, you know. So,
certainly, heads again is something that is associated with you, particularly on your females. I remember seeing you selling a heifer in. Still, I think it was to Harry Emsley, if I remember right there, but just a beautiful, typical Angus head, big fluffy lugs, and just that beautiful outlook to it. And that's what the breed is all about. And it's easy for some of these harder bulls to get away from that, isn't it?
Oh, I know, because I mentioned there that was an Elma heifer. Okay. That line it came, from Blelick, and that head was unbelievable. I mean, I think it's one of the nicest heads we've ever on an animal we've sold. Like, she was amazing at female, and as you said, Harry Emsley bought her. And you have to look at that as well, because I mean, if you're a pedigree breeder, you still need to have the pedigree look about them, you know. So,
and it was interesting. If we fast forward, and maybe I'll go back to what else you've done at Sterling. We fast forward to this year when you were reserve champion, I think, at Sterling and top price there. And we had a Norman Catter, who's been on this podcast with me, and I met Norman out in Argentina as well. And Norman was quite surprised, I think is not the right word, but he thought that it would be in Aberdeenshire, it would be the bigger, harder, heavier bulls that would be selling, and he was quite surprised it was maybe the smaller and easier flesh bulls that were making the trade. So that still is the case, isn't it?
It is. I mean, and I think well, maybe if you go back 20 years, the bigger, harder bulls might have been selling more, but I think the market has kind of pushed it towards maybe mid-size, more fleshy bulls. I just think that's where we're going now. I mean, we did need the bigger ones before to kind of up the size, but now we need to be, not quite so extreme. Well, it's not extreme, but we don't need the size that we used to have.
What sort of weights should we look for our overseas listeners? I mean, I was down in Argentina recently, and they were selling bulls at 600 kilos. What sort of weights would you be aiming at there? I mean, you're not going to be the top of the weight scales in there, but having said that, a thicker bull will weigh just as well. What's the weights? What sort of weights?
Well, I mean, the bulls are all between about 950 to just over 1,000 kilos. That's what we kind of aim for. The bulls we sell put away entire. We're selling them at 14, 15 months, and they're all between 370 and 410 kilos dead weight.
That's competing with the Charolais at that weight, isn't it?
That is competing with the Charolais, and even any of the occasionally we sell an odd heifer, into the beef job, and we don't we never have any fat heifer or killed heifers at 300 kilos or less dead weight. That's just a thing of the past, because we're trying, because that was always the criticism of the Angus cattle, was the heifers let the job down because they were too light, or they finished too fast. But our heifers are anything from 325 upwards, up to about 370 if we can, Sure. So that's quite you need that. Well, in Scotland or in the UK, that's kind of the weights we need to be going for, because that's weight pays. I remember Ian Nice from Hardcore always said to me once when I was not long, weight pays. It's his thing. But that wasn't a commercial, and I was looking at it from a commercial angle. He said weight pays, and it does, to be fair.
And you said you put some females through the butchers, but you don't put many through, because you must have a fair demand with the reputation. We'll go on to the bulls maybe of what you've won in Sterling in a second. And demand, you'll have people knocking on your door looking for those, I guess.
Yeah, we do. Every now and again, we get females away, and we sold one privately just in November for 8,500. She wasn't even a year old. It was just a guy came on from the south and had seen our heifer, because one female champion in last October, and had seen, so we managed to sell another one, and it's just. We're always drip feeding them away, like
that helps. Helps the job when you can sell the females at that trade as well. And
yeah, it does definitely.
And as I said, Sterling, I think your first top Sterling, would I say in 2014 or back then, and then been pretty much at the top of it for the last 10 years or so. I mean, how many times have you done the trade there? Did you know?
3 times, I would say 3 times, because we had the champion, the October champion with Tonley Pato, and that was, and then we won the February sale with Tonley Ivor, and then we topped last February. We had the champion again with Tonley Endgame. That's right,
Endgame. We'll chat about him in a second, because I saw him. He was a great beast. And there's a bull, Tonley Ivor. I'm not quite sure how he got to Ireland, but somehow was he sold to Carl Hurley, I think, and then moved. He was.
Yes, yeah, he was. Well, the thing was, Ray Grieve. Well, it was Alistair Cormack had bought him, but at the time Alistair bought him, Ray Grieve was in the hospital very ill, and I mean, Ray I think he only lived 2-3 months after he bought him, And then the following year, the herd was dispersed, you see. So they'd only used them that first season.
And he was sold, I'm right in thinking, 33,000 euros into Ireland. That'll be as big a trade as anybody's waterbull in Ireland.
Yeah.
And then in 2021 you had a reduction, of course. Well, a lot of good females about there, and you put.
We just did a bit of a draft sale, and Mark picked out. Well, he picked out a number of. Well, we sold 2-year-old heifers with calves at foot. Sold a number of them, and then took some cows as well. So that went.
And one went into to start a new family back at a new house. Of course, Bob Adam, I mentioned that new house earlier on. One of the great breeders, and Andrew and his brother taking himself to go back into Angus, and one of their initial purchases, 20,000 guineas for a princess heifer.
Yeah. All right, and so she's. I mean, he's already sold more progeny than he paid to the value of more than he paid. I think he's got more money back already because he sold the bulls, and I think he's flushed her, and he's done very well with her. So it's a great advert for him.
Advert for you, and an able young man that he is, and wish him all the best with that. And let's just talk about Tonley Lady Heather then, because I know we talk about the sales and what have you, but Mark likes to get out of the shows. You like to get out of the shows as well, and she was just pretty much unbeatable, was she not?
Well, so the first, she won. As a calf, she won the Stars of the Future, the heifer calf champion, and then she won the Black Beauty Bonanza. She was born in January, so that same year she did that.
Okay. The Bonanza, of course, would be a strong as it Stars of the Future. I judged it this year, and there's always some good Angus there. And
no, it was quite good. So she did well there, and then Mark had planned to take her as a 2-year-old. He was going to bull her and take her as a 2-year-old to Highland Show. But unfortunately, with the show call, she ended up having a calf at about 20 months old. But then COVID comes, so there was no show. So anyway, he got in calf again, and she calved as a 3-year-old. She was 3 in the January, and she had a calf in the February. So then he took her to the Highland Show. But she was reserve champion at the Highland Show. It was her first outing as an adult. But then he took her to the Royal Norfolk, and she won Angus champion. I think she was reserve interbreed there, and then she won the Great Yorkshire that year, and she won Turriff Show, and she was champion of champions at Turriff. She won the Black Isle Show, she won the Keith Show, she won Echt Show, and so she had some show career.
Pretty much unbeaten, and I did the commentary at the Highland Show in 2015. I commentated on the Angus cattle that year, and what a tremendous beast she was, and just she looked like a winner. She showed herself that she wanted to win, and I don't think she was ever beaten, was she?
And she had the good thing about her as well. She had a very good calf. And it was stocked very well as well. Because I remember a lot of people said you don't often get a good show that makes a job of a calf, but she did, So
well, that stands you well in interbreeds when you get a good calf there as well, doesn't it? Shows that.
Well, it does help because she had a few. I think she won. Well, that was a great. I think that was the best day because she won Angus champion, then interbreed champion, then she went on to be champion of champions. And on the back of that, when Mark took her to Royal Norfolk, because it was a national show and Princess Anne was there, Mark met Princess Anne and was presented with the trophy there. And then a month later, at Turriff Show, she won champion of champions. Then Princess Anne was there again, so Mark met her again, and his photograph has been over the local press quite a lot with him and Princess Anne.
Not you again. She said, "Not you again."
Yeah, exactly. But I would say that the day at Turriff Show was a very proud moment for us all.
Sure, indeed. No, a great cow as she was, and that brings us round to Stirling last February, I think, where you had an exceptional year.
Last year we had the best year because we had overall champion and reserve overall champion last year, and then we also won the best pair, the best 3, the best 4, and the best 5 last year.
That's a clean sweep, that is. And did you get a bull? And did the bull go back to Andrew Adam, or am I right in thinking?
Yes, he bought the bull. Yes.
At and then 24,000, would I be right?
1,000. Yeah, and then Thrunton bought the reserve champion at 16,000.
Excellent.
And then we also sold another one at 14,000, and it went to the Aachen Grey herd. That's down in Ayrshire. So it was all the 3 top ones, and then there was another one at 8,000. He went to John Coulthard.
Okay. John Coulthard.
So yes, so he bought. So we sold 4 bulls into pedigree herds last February.
Yeah, no, so excellent and well done. As I said, you're back in amongst it still. And I'm right in thinking you bought a bull at the Shadwell dispersal. Was he just a calf? Maybe you bought that.
He was just a calf. He was barely a year old. He was Shadwell Black Magic. Mm-hmm. So, but I was in partnership with the new family at Blelik. Their herd is Blelik, now called Blelik Hill. Okay. So it was sharing with him, with them. I mean, so
okay. And again, for those that don't know, the Blelik herd was sold completely or dispersed completely, and the farm being sold, and that's them put Angus back on there again. So how many cows have they got in there now?
I think at the moment they've maybe just about 20, 25 cows, and they've got a few recipients on the go. So
how's he looking?
Oh, he's looking well. Yeah, he's looking very well.
See him out on the show circuit this year?
I don't know. No, he won't be out. No, because we need to, get him to be used and so on.
Will you be out on the show circuit yourself, or Mark running a team at this time?
I think he's taking some to Highland Show. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see you then. There and I mentioned at the top there you have a few Charolais, and I think you bought one of those from Bleak if I remember right. So a few Charolais.
Yeah. We've about 8, 9 cows. We don't have many, but it's quite a good interest for us. Plus, as I said at the beginning of this chart, we're in very big Charolais country, and there's a big demand for Charolais. So we have managed to sell 1 or 2 at home, and it's just providing or producing something that the local market wants. So that's it's not that we were again. I mean, Angus is still our number 1 breed, but we think we can get a bit of income out of that, out of the Charolais on the local interest.
I certainly know it, and I remember at Rawburn when people, John Elliott say people come round for bulls and they might want a limousine bull while they're there, so have a few limousines, you could fill that order, and probably the same with.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same kind of logic behind it, So. Okay.
And you bought a Charolais bull off Robbie McNeil and Jamie Retty, and I was there in Carlisle. Yeah. That was an absolutely cracking bull. I thought he was a great bull. Last May was that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was. He's a great bull, and what a shape! And I just think, well, we sold the we sold the Charolais bull at the spring show at Thainson last February for 13,000. And he wasn't the biggest bull, but what a shape he had. And this bull at Mark's bought much the same as him, but a wee bit more size. So I think the Aberdeenshire farmers will love the progeny of this bull. So
a great end on him. I can see him breeding a few show calves. That one as well, a tremendous end.
Well, I know he has. And they just. I remember that day when the bull came in. The one he was called Tonley Swagger. And I mean, the bids were it was just amazing. Like, and it's just, it was all commercial boys that were bidding on him. So if you can produce some bulls like that again, you ought to win.
Yeah, indeed. And am I right in thinking you've got a few blue Texels there as well? They're shapely little buggers. You got some of those too?
Yeah, we have blue Tex, and we have a few Beltex now as well. So it's all quite. We do really like the pedigree job, So it's we find it very interesting, and we. A few blue Beltex, and we've sold, but we've only had them for about 2 years, and we've sold a top at 2,200 at Carlisle a year past, so that was quite a good day. So
good.
Yeah,
my father was in that breed, so I know all about those. And you're a Highland Show director. You've certainly been a director of the Highland Show in the past.
No, I was only a director for a year because there's 7 regions that represent Scotland within the Highland Show, and they invite 7 people every year to go on for a year just to get a taster to see if they want to. You then put yourself forward for a long, 3 or 4 year term. So so I've just done the year, but I'm just. It's quite difficult for me to commit to. Mm-hmm. I mean, I enjoy doing it, but because of my day job with the class franchise, I tend to work. I'm on the class stand at the Highland Show most of the Highland Show time, so it's a wee bit difficult for me. I can't be in every place, all places all the time. So I probably won't take it any further. But I had a great time, learned a lot about the show, and it was a good experience.
Yeah, excellent. Well, nice to put a little bit back, isn't it? And I mean, based on that, with obviously. arable hat on, if you like, and your beef cattle hat on and a sheep on as well. You're seeing agriculture from quite a few different sides there. What sort of advice have you got for youngsters coming? Obviously, your son's coming through that now, and I guess you'll have grandchildren coming on, or maybe not yet. But what's your advice to youngsters coming into the breed now? Is a little bit of help you can give to them?
Well, I think you have to. I always think you have to be keen on the industry, because that's a big help. Be prepared to work hard and always have a good attitude. I always think attitude is the most important thing in any job, and I find that here in my day job. But I think if young people come into the industry like that, they should be able to go far.
Sure.
If they follow that three attributes.
Brilliant, and an eye on the quality as well. There, well, Neil, you've certainly had an eye on the quality yourself. There, say taking the herd forward, as I said, top of this to be one of the top Angus breeders in the UK, and I wish you every well with that, and yourself, Mark, as well. And really appreciate you talking to me today on Top Lines and Tales.
Okay, right, Andy, it's been good to chat, and thanks very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Top Lines and Tales, the nation's favourite livestock podcast. And as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Harbro, for their continued support. So this programme brought to you by Harbro. And don't forget, as you're getting in this time of year, we're into lambing and calving season. It's well underway, in actual fact. So the risks of infection, like joint ill and mastitis and scour, are real risks. So we don't take any chances with biosecurity. And the Harbro product, Bio Super Dry Bedder Powder, dries up lambing and calving pens instantly and helps bedding last longer and reduces the buildup of bacteria in the environment. So give that Bio Super a try. And if you look back onto our Top Lines and Tales Facebook page, some recent posts on there had people commenting on how they've had no joint ill cases since they started using Bio Super. And it's available in any one of Harbro's 21 retail stores or direct from your local contact. So if you go in the store just now, and you'll find you can get, if you buy some Bio Super, you'll probably get a free Harbro woolly hat with every purchase of Bio Super for being a great Top Lines and Tales listener.